Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Lorna Shore's brand new album, Pain Remains. Now, you have to have heard about Lorna Shore by now. They've been dominating deathcore for the last 2 or 3 years. It started back in 2020 when they released Immortal, which was probably the best deathcore album of the year, and then they followed it up with their 2021 EP, which only had 3 songs, but it catapulted them to unbelievable heights, partly because of the single To the Hellfire, and then that went viral on TikTok, and then it seemed like everybody was listening to Lorna Shore. So, in my opinion, I think they probably are the biggest deathcore band in the world right now, and that just adds even more pressure for Pain Remains to live up to the hype. So, I'm sure this is going to be kind of a hot topic where you're going to have people who listen to like 2 songs and they're going to say album of the year. It's like it's already album of the year. I've heard all that I need to hear. I listened to the album one time and it's literally the best thing I've ever heard. And then you're going to have people on the opposite side of the spectrum saying, the band's overhyped. The album's really not that good. So I just wanted to share some of my thoughts and, shed some light on some things that you guys can think about as you make your own opinions here. So, the question really at the end of the day is, did Lorna Shore pull it off? Did they make the best album of the year, or at least the best deathcore album of the year? And at the start of my first listen, I actually felt like Pain Remains was just par for the course, really. It was good. I had high expectations and it was a really good album, but I wasn't blown away at that point yet. Will's vocals are monstrous, obviously. The other members are super talented, but I wanted a little bit more, okay? You have bands like Worm Shepherd, Awaken Providence, and Mental Cruelty, and they're all making really incredible symphonic black and deathcore right now. So Lorna Shore doesn't really have the same chokehold on the genre that they did back in 2020. So as I was listening to this album, a couple things I was thinking about. First off, a lot of the songs are incredibly busy. There's just so much going on, so many layers, and I can't believe I'm saying this. If you know me at all, this is like heresy, and I can't believe I'm about to say it out loud. But I actually think Lorna Shore would benefit from just dialing it back a little bit. Like, just chilling out a little bit more. Because, there's only so many symphonic sections backed by blast beats that you can take before everything starts blending together. It starts getting hard to keep track of, like, did I listen to this song already? Like, what song are we even on right now? It's just they all kind of lose their identity and they just blend together. That being said, though, it is refreshing to see a band continue to get more extreme as they get more popular. The album opener, Welcome Back, O Sleeping Dreamer, is absolutely brutal, and it really reaffirms the band's commitment to heaviness. Into the Earth also features huge drops and really cool soaring symphonies, and we don't see the band venture into melodic territory until the start of Sun Eater. So it's worth noting that the average song on Pain Remains is 6 minutes long, which is quite long for deathcore. The downside of that is that the song structures are fairly repetitive. So I'm going to lay it out for you here. A lot of times what ends up happening is Will hammers out a majority of the lyrics at the start, then he'll circle back, repeat some of them for the chorus. As he's doing that, the band will get a little bit more melodic. Then there's probably a guitar solo, and then it's going to end on a pretty heavy note. And then, of course, you sprinkle in a healthy amount of breakdowns, put in a ton of symphonic moments, and there you go. You have a Lorna Shore song. So, it is kind of by the numbers, just cookie cutter, a little bit formulaic, and I know some people complained about that. It didn't take away too much for me, but, it is something to note. The one thing that I do want to note is there's a lot of guitar solos, and the only thing is that you can see them coming from a mile away because you can just tell the band is setting up for it. And that is just kind of funny to me because, like, normally guitar solos are so unique and rare. You'll get like 1 or 2 per album, but there's just a funny difference here for Lorna Shore. The other thing I wanted to note here is that Will's vocals, at least in my opinion, are a little bit further back in the mix than I would have liked. And I normally don't talk about the mix at all because I'm not an expert. I don't know how any of that stuff works. I'm kind of just, listening and then off the cuff, just saying what I think. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But in my opinion, I think Will's vocals are a little bit too far back in the mix. And I thought one of the really cool things about Immortal back with CJ was he was a bit more forward. And so he had this really commanding presence, and it felt like he was kind of directing the songs and like pushing them forward. And obviously, Will, insanely talented. Probably, I mean, I don't know how to really compare vocalists, but like he could be better than CJ. He like definitely is one of the best deathcore vocalists in the whole world right now. So I know he has it in him. I know he could do that. They just kind of buried him a little bit deeper, which is a little bit of a shame because he, in the moments where he's trying to like build up for a breakdown or for a drop, or in those more melodic, like chorus type of moments, it's a little bit harder to catch what he's saying and to understand the lyrics. And so when you can't understand it, it just kind of takes away from that moment. One of the examples I had here was the end of Cursed to Die. I wish I could have connected with that a little bit more. Kind of the same thing with the symphonic moments. They're totally awesome, really cool, but when everything is the same volume, nothing stands out, and you end up with a lot of competing sounds. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, a wave of sound. It's just so many layers, so much busyness, so much stuff going on. It's like you don't even know what to pay attention to, really. And you can have the songs just kind of like wash over you, but if you try to give it really a concerted effort to like listen to the details, a lot of the times it kind of felt like the symphonic moments were just like a little bit unnecessary and just kind of added to the chaos of what was happening, which may have been what they were going for. But, like I said a little bit earlier, I think they could dial back a little bit of that and the songs would be a little bit more easily consumed. So at this point, I was definitely impressed with the album, but I wasn't blown away yet. Lorna Shore, biggest deathcore band on the planet, right? I knew Pain Remains was going to be good. It's not like Lorna Shore was going to fail and just create a terrible album. I knew it was going to be good. But the question of, is it unanimously the best deathcore album of 2022? It's a little bit harder to answer for me at that point. And I didn't think that it was until I got to the last 3 songs, which I'm almost treating as a separate EP. You have Pain Remains 1, 2, and 3, so it's pretty much the title track of the album broken up into 3 different songs, which makes sense because all 3 songs together take 20 minutes to get through. The third song on its own is 9 minutes, which is quite an undertaking. So yeah, I kind of treat it as like this conceptual EP because it tells this connected story, and it's just kind of a cool way to think about it like that. And yeah, the story that it tells, really, really emotional. The music videos are just cinematic works of art, man. The lyrics are really deep. And prior to these songs and prior to their music videos, I actually really didn't like the album art of Pain Remains. You look back at the Reaper on the EP and you look at the war-torn landscape on Immortal, and those were just so striking and so powerful. And then you have just Pain Remains, black, white, and gray. It's kind of hard to tell what's happening the first glance at this image. Like what part of the body is really being cut. And so, I just didn't like it very much at first. But then I watched those music videos and I understood. And now I think it is a really cool, powerful statement to have that as the album cover. If any of you listened to Knocked Loose's 2021 EP, these 3 songs are kind of like that in terms of they really absorb you into the story. It's a really compelling story, and it's just really cool to watch it unfold in front of you. Musically, I also think that these 3 closing songs are some of the strongest on the album. Pain Remains 1 really nailed the melodic sound Lorna Shore's been going for. I kind of hope to see them incorporate a bit more of that in the future. And I also liked the slightly calmer, more measured approach in these songs, as the band really took their time to explore the different emotions and the different atmospheres. Pain Remains 2, also really heavy, but it had this uplifting feeling. It was almost like triumphant. And, I just felt like the band was really connected to that one. And then Pain Remains 3, in my opinion, I think showcased the band's ability the best to fully develop each section so it feels like you're really progressing through a song and not just facing a constant barrage of heaviness. It's kind of like you could really feel moving from one point to the next, and I just thought they did that really well, which I didn't feel like on the earlier songs, and so it was cool to see them pull it off. So where did I land at the end of all this? Like I said at the start, Lorna Shore needed to deliver more than just a blackened symphonic deathcore album if they were going to continue their reign and keep wearing that crown. The genre, like I mentioned, getting a little bit more crowded, other bands starting to make really good music in the same space. So Lorna Shore really needed to bring a new it factor if they were going to stay on top. And for me, with this Pain Remains trilogy, I felt like their creativity and just their ability to execute their vision really convinced me that they're still an indomitable force, still leaders of the pack. And, I really liked what they were doing there. So overall, I think, really big success. I think you definitely could make the argument that this is at least the deathcore album of 2022. And, this band's just been through so much, just so many trials and tribulations, that it's cool to see them prevail and overcome all of it and be able to still make such great music. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time, hopefully. Thanks.